Robin from Rainbow Gardens. Today we are here at Mission San Juan. We are here with Mitch from the San Antonio Food Bank, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about what they do here at Mission San Juan.
So the San Antonio Food Bank feeds a lot of different people, and one way that we do that is by growing food on 2 different urban farm sites. So we have one directly behind the San Antonio Food Bank, but then the other one that we have is actually at our local national park site at Mission San Juan. We have about 50 acres that we're cultivating on, and we're going to see what crops we have here today.
So at Mission San Juan, we have an operating acequia that was dug out about 300 years ago by colonists and indigenous communities in this region. And this was an important lifeblood for a lot of the different acreage and production that was happening around the missions at the time. Agriculture was a critical reason why these missions were established here in the first place. Something that's pretty cool is we actually use these acequias today to irrigate our crops in the traditional way and with pumps and drip line irrigation, trying to grow food for the community. So we're really excited about this field behind us in the Spanish Colonial demonstration farm because we're going to be planting indigenous style crops. So in particular, nopal cactus are going to be planted here, which will do really well through the summer, and we're not going to actively irrigate it. So this is what we call dry land agriculture. Eventually we're going to plant some mesquite trees, but what we really want members of the public to do is give us some paddles of nopal or cactus plants to be able to plant here to integrate. In addition to a bunch of plants that we're getting from nurseries like Rainbow Gardens, we really want to have a heritage nopal patch from all the genetic diversity of cactuses in the city. One area of the farm here that's really exciting is the area that we call the Spanish Colonial demonstration farm. The reason why the National Park Service was so excited about having the food bank come by is to demonstrate the way that crops were grown hundreds of years ago on this site. So we actually use the acequia to be able to flood in between these channels to fill up water a certain amount, and then that water infiltrates through capillary action to reach the roots of these plants here. So these are some broccolis, which are some of the crops that were grown here historically, but during the summer we'll grow beans, corn, squash, a lot of different things that were traditionally cultivated in this region. And what we found is even through a really hot summer like the one that we just experienced, this acequia gravity-fed irrigation method is really effective to grow great crops.
So we're standing here in the peach orchard at Mission San Juan, and we have about 5 acres of peaches here, so a couple hundred trees.
And we really like being able to approach agriculture not just one season at a time, but instead thinking how much long-term production can we have. And so planting fruit trees and nut trees are really a great way to start to approach that. Now, peaches are a challenging crop in our region. Sometimes you don't get enough chill hours to get really strong fruiting, and sometimes you get a late freeze in February, which can be challenging because peaches are one of the first flowering crops in the spring. But when you do get them, there's nothing better than a ripened peach directly off of the tree. And we're also going to start planting some other fruit trees that are a little more resilient to this region. We'll be planting about 500 fig trees as well, and we want to invite as many volunteers to come join us at the beginning of March to do that as well.
You can find out more at safoodbank.org and sign up to be able to put a couple trees in the ground with us, and then hopefully in a couple years time taste some really delicious stuff.
This is obviously quite a mighty pecan tree, and the acequia is directly under its roots. And so you can see how strong a tree can get over time being able to have access to that water. And even from a lightning strike or whatever other damage caused that challenge for it, it's hollow all the way through, but it's still a thriving tree that's actually producing great nuts. And in the summertime, the canopy from this tree providing a bunch of shade makes a huge difference for farmers like me that are on site trying to get some respite, but also the wildlife that's all around. So all these aquatic animals, little frogs, and all these insects really find an important ecosystem directly under these pecan trees. And pecans, while they're grown in New Mexico, Georgia, Oklahoma, have huge demand in China, they evolved to be right here in South Texas, right along riverbanks, just like this acequia. And I think that our city should embrace pecans as much as possible to increase our canopy and to just have terrific nuts.
So for us, the acequia is a critical irrigation source for our Spanish Colonial demonstration farm, but we also exclusively use water from the acequia for our more modern fields. And so we actually slow down the flow of the water here and place a pump inside in order to feed all of our drip line irrigation. We don't want really large sprinklers to waste that water, so we want to use drip to try to be as conservative as possible. And because we're using water directly from the San Antonio River connected to the acequia, we are able to grow food for the community without having to pay for that water directly.
So in this field we have a lot of root vegetables. We germinate our own crops at the food bank, but we have so much land that it's challenging for us to germinate seedlings for all of them. So we often turn to root crops as a way to really increase our yield without needing to fill up our greenhouse space. So the front half of this 5 acres is all radishes and the back half is all beets. And so these are a faster harvest time than some of the other crops that we're going to see, like cabbages. And so we're really excited to be able to supplement these on the tables of the community here. So in this field, we're growing all types of brassicas. So we have cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, collard greens, Brussels sprouts. And you notice these long strips of white, these are actually something called plastic mulch. And so we don't use any herbicides on this site, partially because we don't really want to, and partially because it's a national park site. So we want people to be able to come and enjoy the space as safely as possible. We don't love plastic, but it allows us to be able to suppress the weeds without having to spray anything. So you see on my left, what is growing here is some Brussels sprouts, and these are doing extremely well. We have drip line irrigation underneath that plastic mulch, and they're starting to cultivate really strongly. And on my right, you see what that row would look like if there was no plastic mulch at all. And so being able to use this for 2 or 3 seasons, we'll also have tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, all sorts of other good stuff in the spring. This is a really efficient way for us to be able to maximize our yield without having to use any herbicides in the long run. And this acreage is going to be able to produce tons and tons of produce, which we're really excited about getting on people's tables. So we're going to need a lot of help harvesting all of this broccoli, cabbage, etc. And so on Saturday, January 27th, we would love for you to come out and join us to be able to harvest some of this food. And farming is a really important piece of how we grow a lot of the produce that we end up distributing, but food donations are a critical way that your San Antonio Food Bank operates.
And you can donate at Rainbow Gardens. We are collecting for Thanksgiving and also for Christmas. We'll be doing a canned food donation drive as well. So please, please, please donate to the food bank. You can do that at Rainbow Gardens or go into the food bank and drop off your donations. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fabulous day and come check us out.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.